As you all know, I'm excited for the new Red Dead game, and the trailer should be hitting Thursday. And in the meantime, I thought I would put up some of my favorite Western movies that I don't think a lot of you have probably seen. So I'm going to go over 7 movies here. Maybe one or two of you have seen, but I think a lot of them you wouldn't have. I I don't know a lot of people that do like westerns or say they do. Like, yeah, I love westerns. Clint Eastwood and John Wayne are awesome. They might have seen like Tombstone and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and that's it. And then they just say like John Wayne. It's kind of like how people say, "I love reggae music. Bob Miller's amazing." You ask them to name anybody else in reggae, and they can't. Or people say they love Thai food that only ever order pad Thai. White people problems. But I'm going to cover some westerns, and hopefully you guys have not seen these, and you'll check them out and dig them like I do. So number 1, Once Upon a Time in the West. These are in no particular order, and this may be one that is a little more popular you guys might have seen, but this is a Sergio Leone movie that he did kind of post his Clint Eastwood years. Still use some of his standards like Woody Strode and some people in the beginning that instantly... Well, I'm not going to get into spoilers because even though it's old, I don't think a lot of you have seen this. But the soundtrack is by Ennio Morricone, like always. This one stars Henry Fonda, Charles Bronson, the beautiful, beautiful Claudia Cardinelli. Is that how you say it? But yeah, oh my god, she's something. But Henry Fonda at this point was not known as playing the villain, and there's a story of him showing up with contacts in, because he's got this bright blue eyes, and instead they hid his eyes, and Leone made him take them out instantly because he wanted the villain with those bright blue like heroic eyes, and it was an awesome choice. I think Jason Robards is another one I should mention that you guys should know that was in it. But incredible cast, insanely good acting. This is a long movie at 2 hours and 55 minutes. Hey, same length as my Sal guide. But man, it is worth it. It is one of the coolest movies I've ever seen. I try to watch it about once a year, if not more. It's always amazing. Big, sprawling Western. Silent but strong hero type. Charles Bronson here is just the ultimate of all badasses. So I'm always disappointed whenever there's a Western character in a video game and there's not harmonicas, and that character's not playing a harmonica, because it makes them less badass not to be playing it. But if you've never seen this one, this might be my favorite Western, and I don't know how to explain it better than that. Big plot, amazing villains, great heroes, everything about this movie is fucking fantastic. The scenery, the shot. If you get this on Blu-ray and watch it, it was done in 1968, and nothing you see nowadays looks as good as this looks. Like, man, Leone knew how to... The dude knew how to shoot a movie, we'll just say that. But check out Once Upon a Time in the West. You will not be disappointed. If you are disappointed, it just means you have terrible taste in movies, and I can't help you. The storyline or plot synopsis of Once Upon a Time in the West, I should have said that when I started talking about the movie, but here it is. The story of a young woman, Miss McBain, who moves from New Orleans to the frontier Utah. On the very edge of the American West, she arrives to find her new husband and family slaughtered. But by whom? The prime suspect, coffee-loving Cheyenne, befriends her and offers to go after the real killer, assassin gang leader Frank, in her honor. He is accompanied by Harmonica, a man already on a quest to get even. So that's the basic plot line of Once Upon a Time in the West, if that really matters to you. My next one up here is Death Hunt, a movie done in 1981, the year I was born. This one was directed by Peter Hunt. I'm not actually that familiar with his other work. And stars Charles Bronson and Lee Marvin. So, I mean, I don't know if you need to know anything past a movie with Charles Bronson and Lee Marvin in it together. It pretty much says it's going to be the most badass movie in the history of badassery. But I will go over the storyline here anyways. Canada, 1931. The unsociable trapper Johnson lives for himself in the ice-cold mountains near the Yukon River. During a visit in the town, he witnesses a dogfight. He interrupts the game and buys one of the dogs, almost dead already, for $200 against the owner's will. When the owner Hassel complains to Mountie Sergeant Millen, he refuses to take action, but the loathing breeder and his friends accuse Johnson of murder, so Millen, although sympathetic, has to try to take him under arrest, but Johnson defends his freedom in every way possible. So Lee Marvin's the Mountie, and Charles Bronson is the dog-saving mountain man, and Lee Marvin kind of like has to reluctantly chase him because the town's kind of forcing him to do it. And this is kind of a snow western taking place in Canada, I guess. Some people might not really consider this a western, but it's kind of on the verge. It fits the genre pretty well. And yeah, anytime you have two just iconic badasses like this facing off, it's pretty hard not to be awesome. It's not an amazing, iconic film or anything, but it's just so fucking fun to watch. And these two brilliant actors, kind of in their later years as well, just so good at what they do, and they can't really go wrong. So definitely check out Death Hunt. Really fucking awesome, badass movie as well. So speaking of snowy westerns, the next one is The Great Silence. The Great Silence is a movie by Sergio Corbucci, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm not sure, but he is well known for, well, at least one other one on this list, and then a lot of Terrence Hill and Bud Spencer stuff. Great spaghetti western director. So this one stars Jean-Louis Trinity, something like that. His name is kind of hard for me to say. And the infamous and evil Klaus Kinski. The plot synopsis of this one is bounty hunter killers led by Loco prey on outlaws hiding out in snowbound Utah mountains. After Pauline's husband becomes Loco's latest victim, she hires a gunman for revenge. Silence. Mute since his throat was cut when he was a boy. So yeah, the hero of this cannot speak. He is a mute. Or he is mute. That might not be the right way to say it. And he goes after Klaus Kinski, and two, again, brilliant actors really facing off, which is, again, always fucking cool. I mean, Sergio Corbucci never does anything bad. The soundtrack's by Ennio Morricone. Once again, fucking badass. God, what else to say about this? Just it being set in the winter is a little different for a lot of westerns, and it makes the landscapes look awesome. There's a few call-outs to this movie in Django Unchained by Quentin Tarantino as well. So if you watch this, you might see a few scenes or spots or shots that look familiar for a reason. This one was made in 1969 in France, actually. I didn't know that. Hour and 45 minutes, so a little easier to take in than some of the others I mentioned, or one of the others. And yeah, you should definitely check this out. Just a damn solid fucking action western film. So speaking of Django, let's just go and cover Django. The next one, also by Sergio Corbucci. Or Corbucci. Some Italian. Someone who's Italian, tell me how to say it right. Of course, I'm from Wisconsin, and people around here say Italian for everything. It just fucking got me in trouble when I moved down to Chicago for the first time. But that's neither here nor there. This was a movie done in 1966. 132 minutes long. Stars Francis Nero as Django. And if you guys saw Django Unchained, and the first time you saw the main dingo fight, and then Django's up against the bar, like, talking to an old fellow, and he spells out his name real slow and deliberately and says the D is silent, and the old man goes, "Yes, I know." That old man was Francis Nero, the original Django. So the storyline of this one: in the opening scene, a lone man walks. Behind him, he drags a coffin. That man is Django. He rescues a woman from bandits and later arrives in a town ravaged by the same bandits. The scene for confrontation is set But why does he drag that coffin everywhere? Who or what is in it? That is Django. It's pretty much a straightforward, I'm going to shoot a bunch of dudes. I'm never going to miss, no matter what. Tons of bullets flying, and just an awesome gunslinging, fun movie. No great plot here, no great storyline. Just a badass fucking movie of one of the greatest gunslingers of all time. And you will not be disappointed with Coffin. I guarantee that. Soundtrack was also by Morricone on this, I believe, because that dude just does all the Western soundtracks, and he's one of the greatest musicians to ever live. And oddly enough, if you guys just watched Luke Cage, Adrian Young did the soundtrack for that, and he is young. I don't know if he's actually that young, but he is a hip-hop artist that is deeply influenced by Morricone, and you can kind of hear that in the Luke Cage soundtrack. So that's kind of a cool thing to be able to hear that in the modern thing. Not in the songs, but in the score. So you should check that out too. But also go back and watch the original Django, because goddamn, I don't know if there's a better gunslinger ever out there than Django himself. So in the last, or two of them to go, Great Silence, I mentioned some Terence Hill and Bud Spencer stuff. And that will lead us to My Name is Nobody. Tonio Vallarelli directed this, but it was written by Sergio Leone. Morricone, again, soundtrack. Henry Fonda, once again, is in this, but this time more of a hero. And the infamous and wonderful, hilarious, dashing, one of the greatest movie stars of all time, Terence motherfucking Hill. If you guys aren't familiar with Terence Hill's work, you need to go work on that, because, I mean, let's be honest, they don't really get better than Terence Hill. The storyline here is Jack Beauregard, something like that, once the greatest gunslinger of the Old West, only wants to move to Europe and retire in peace, but a young gunfighter known only as Nobody idolizes him and wants to see him go out in a blaze of glory. He arranges for Jack to face a 150-man gang known as the Wild Bunch and earn his place in history. So yeah, this is pretty much what it says. The young Terence Hill trying to force Henry Fonda into this fight, and you kind of follow those through this. Really, it's kind of like almost like a Western comedy a little bit. I mentioned that Morricone did the soundtrack to this. Not my favorite soundtrack. It's got like a different tone, but man, this movie is engrossing as all fuck. It's an hour and 56 minutes long. It is hilarious. It has awesome action. I mean, Terence Hill is always funny. And Henry Fonda always gives a great performance. And man, this is such in my mind, this should be like one of those iconic movies that stands above almost all others. But I don't often hear people talking about it. But you should all go and watch this, because this is also one of my absolute favorites. And Westerns can be funny. Why not? They don't have to always be dark and serious and stuff. So yeah, and this is a great introduction to Terence Hill. And once you start watching some Terence Hill movies, you have a world of movies to check out that you will love. I'm just going to guarantee all this stuff. Everything I say here is guaranteed. You'll fucking love it, because Terence Hill is the best. So speaking of Terence Hill, he's not done with this list. This next one, They Call Me Trinity, directed by Enzo Barboni, starring, most importantly, Terence Hill, and yes, the late, great, and wonderful Bud Spencer. Bud Spencer passed away not too long ago, and the day he passed away, I'm like, I'm going to go on my Facebook page and change my banner to kind of honor Bud, and I realized that my Facebook banner was already Bud Spencer. So it was kind of fun. If you guys wondered, my forum avatar was Bud Spencer for a while there too. Terence Hill and Bud Spencer did a shitload of movies together for probably like 20 years or something. They're always kind of like Western comedies, always awesome, just one of the ultimate duos to ever work in movies together. Storyline here: a drifter comes to town where his brother is sheriff. His brother is actually a robber who broke the real sheriff's leg and left him for dead and became the sheriff in order to hide out. They team up against a local baron who is trying to get rid of the Mormon settlers in a valley he wishes to own. Plot doesn't matter when you have Terrence Hill and Bud Spencer together. There's so many of these movies to watch out, like Trinity Is Still My Name, and you could go back to like Boot Hill, and there's so many, but I think this is a good starting point, and you guys will fall in love with these two. My fellow moderator Guy over at the forums, me and him are both massive fans. He grew up like dressing up as Terrence Hill. I wish I could have known about these guys like growing up, because yeah, these two together is just fucking. I could just watch them interact, just do anything. But if you go on YouTube and look these two up, just Google or search in YouTube Terrence Hill, Bud Spencer. There's just a scene of the two of them like eating, more of a modern movie, and that was like in the later 70s or 80s. And they're just like sitting at a table with everyone in like suits, and you know, they're dressed up in suits and just eating. And it's one of the fucking funniest things you'll see. No, you don't even have to hear them say anything. Just watching these two eat will crack you up. This one was done in 1970, an hour and 53 minutes long. Once again, just great. These dudes love beans. So many great images, and I don't know. I love all of these movies with these two. I probably have 20 movies with the two of them together. I just went up and like bought all these box sets with the two of them. They're so great together. The chemistry and everything is wonderful. They're just insanely fun movies. But even on IMDb, it's 7.5 stars out of 10. So quality films as well. So yeah, go check out They Call Me Trinity. And then fun fact too, because no one ever called me on this, but my Deputy Jack build, if you guys remember that, has a subtitle on it. And if you go and look at that, and I have to go search back here because it's there, but my subtitle on that is Deputy Jack, They Call Me Trinity, which is a call out to this movie. I wanted to make sure I got that exactly right, so I just quick looked it up. So that's where that comes from with, Jack, my gunslinger, is Trinity, but it also kind of worked because with the two Digijacks, there's 3 of them. So it kind of worked pretty smooth, and that's where the Deputy Jack subtitle comes from, in case you didn't know that. Now you do. Knowing's half the battle. No, I'm not doing G.I. Joe shit. This is about westerns. Better stuff. Last but not least on my list is Red Sun. Red Sun was done in 1971 by Terrence Young. And the reason this makes the list is, once again, Charles Bronson, but his co-star in this is none other than Toshiro Mifune. Now, if you guys are not familiar with Toshiro Mifune, which does not sound like a Western star, he is a samurai star, a Japanese actor, and one of the most iconic actors in the history of cinema. And he was the star of Hidden Fortress, which Star Wars was based off of. He was the star of Seven Samurai, which Magnificent Seven was based off of, which was just remade again. He was the star of Yojimbo, which A Fistful of Dollars, one of Clint Eastwood's big breakout roles, was based off of, and Bruce Willis later remade that movie as well. High-Low, Mel Gibson's Ransom, I think it was almost based off of that, or seems similar. He had so many brilliant films. Did some Shakespeare with like Throne of Blood, The Bad Sleep Well, just so many great movies. Redbeard was one of my favorite performances I've ever seen by anyone. But Red Sun, to be able to see like Charles Bronson, one of the greatest badasses in history, go up against Toshiro Mifune, probably the biggest badass in the history of movies, kind of go at it and somewhat fight together in this movie. So fucking fun, so fucking awesome. Yeah, it just doesn't get much better. Oh yeah, Hell in the Pacific 2 with Toshiro Mifune and Lee Marvin. Dear God, that movie is awesome. But the storyline of this, a Japanese ambassador is traveling through the Wild West by train when gangsters hold up the train to rob a gold shipment. They also carry an ancient Japanese sword the ambassador was carrying as a present for the U.S. president. The ambassador's bodyguard, Toshiro Mifune, will go after them with the aid of one of the gang's leaders betrayed by his pals, which is Bronson. So yeah, you kind of see these two like chase down a gang, kind of fight in the process. And yeah, when you have two iconic people like this, it's just a win for everyone. So yeah, go try to find a copy of The Red Sun, 7 stars on IMDb, hour and 52 minutes long, not too bad. And yeah, this one is a ton of fun. And if you're not familiar with Mifune's work, go check out a bunch of his stuff he did with Kurosawa, but even other stuff. I mean, he's done stuff way beyond just the Kurosawa stuff, and yeah, just total badass. I mean, Harrison Ford, Clint Eastwood, Bruce Willis, Steve McQueen, Yul Brynner, like so many of these great American actors like based a lot of their movies off of what he did, and a lot of like how they did that stuff. And yeah, oh yeah, and Rashomon. I can't believe it. Anyways, go check out The Red Sun because it is a ton of fun. And that wraps up the 7. So I hope you guys weren't familiar with too many of these, and hope you can go find them and watch them because they're awesome movies. Thanks a lot. See you all later. Bye. I changed my mind. I'm not done. I was going to stop at 7, but since Death Hunt might not really be a Western, Duck You Sucker, a fist full of fucking dynamite. It's not really full of fucking dynamite. It's just Duck You Sucker, a fistful of dynamite. Or Duck You Sucker, a fistful of dynamite is kind of a subtitle. But this was done in 1971 as well, a 7.7. Another Sergio Leone. This one stars none other than James Coburn and Rod Steiger. Another Morricone soundtrack, I believe. The plot of this one is, in Mexico at the time of the revolution, Juan, the leader of a bandit family, meets John Mallory, an IRA explosive expert, on the run from the British. Seeing John's skill with explosives, Juan decides to persuade him to join the bandits in a raid on the Great Bank of Mesa Verde. John, in the meantime, has made his contact with the revolutionaries and intends to use his dynamite in their service. This one is so iconic and so good. James Coburn is always great, but Rod Steiger, as well as the bandit, is God, he is excellent. What else to say about that? I don't even want to give it away. You guys love explosions. You guys love Mr. Torg. James Coburn is an early Mr. Torg. It's kind of a later in the Western, like he's riding around on motorcycles, there's less horses and stuff. So it's a little more of a modern time frame of a Western. But it is still definitely a Western at heart. And this is one that plot and story and character, this is more than just like two badasses kind of going at it. This is a pretty deep film with some really, really hefty subject matter you can sink your teeth into and enjoy. And some really insanely good monologues. This will knock you on your ass a little bit. It'll surprise you a little bit. And I mean, Leone's definitely capable of that, we know. So yeah, check out Duck You Sucker, a fistful of dynamite, because this movie is at least as badass as the name of it, if not more. And I mean, if you're watching this channel, you love Borderlands, you love explosions. I mean, if you love westerns and explosions, fuck, this is the perfect movie for you. So rounding out at an 8th movie, Duck You Sucker, a fistful of dynamite.